Have you ever had a great idea for a digital product, but then you get completely overwhelmed by, well, everything? I mean, from just figuring out if the idea is any good to building it, marketing it, and then trying to understand all the legal stuff, it can take months, sometimes even years. Well, today, we're going to break down a complete playbook that just shrinks that timeline way down using Claude AI not just as a tool, but as a real strategic partner. All right, let's jump in.
And this is the perfect way to frame this whole conversation. Look, this isn't about AI replacing human creativity or your big ideas. It's about augmenting them. The whole point is to let the AI get bogged down in the tedious, repetitive work so that you can stay focused on the strategy, the vision, the stuff that really moves the needle.
And this slide just nails the core value of what we're talking about. Over on the left, you've got that traditional product lifecycle. It's a long, winding road of research, development, and testing. But on the right, that's the new reality. It's an AI-accelerated cycle where you can go from that first spark of an idea to a product that's actually on the market in a matter of weeks, maybe even days. It's a total game changer. Now, to make that happen, we've got to think about Claude AI a little differently. It's not just a fancy chatbot or something that just spits out content. We need to see it as our AI co-pilot. Think of it as a reasoning engine that can analyze data, plan out complex projects, and really act as your partner through every single phase of building and launching your product.
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with how to find an idea that's actually a winner. Then we'll dive into how to build the product with real professional discipline. After that, we'll cover marketing it with precision, and finally, we'll navigate the super important and kind of tricky world of AI and copyright.
All right, section 1. And honestly, this might be the most critical step of all. Because before you write a single line of code or create a single graphic, you have to be absolutely sure that you're building something people actually want. And, maybe more importantly, something they're willing to pay for.
So, how do you do that? I mean, the old way involved a ton of expensive market research, endless surveys, and frankly, a lot of guesswork. But with an AI copilot, the approach is way more direct, and it's all driven by data. The secret is actually pretty simple. You listen for frustration. That's it. Instead of chasing some abstract trend, you go find where real people are actively complaining online. On forums, on Reddit, in product reviews, you're hunting for those really painful problems, not just nice-to-have features. And this is the framework that gets you that answer in literally minutes. Let's walk through it. First, you just feed Claude a bunch of raw data, like transcripts from Reddit threads or Quora pages where people are venting. Next, Claude does a sentiment analysis. It filters out the small annoyances and finds the real painful problems people are desperate to solve. Then, it checks out the existing competitors to see where they're dropping the ball. And finally, it spits out a clear opportunity rating, scoring your idea based on how intense the demand is versus how tough the competition is. It's like having a direct line to the market's biggest needs. Okay, so you've got a validated idea. Awesome. Now it's time to actually build the thing. This is where a lot of AI-assisted projects can go completely off the rails and end up as a huge, unusable mess. The secret is to bring some professional discipline into the process. The solution is what we call the plan, then execute workflow. So instead of jumping right in and asking Claude to write code, you first ask it to act like an architect. You have it think through the entire structure, the constraints, the project goals, and give you a complete plan before it generates a single line of code. For instance, a bad prompt is, write code for a login page. A great prompt is, act as a senior software architect. Design a secure login system for me. Think about user authentication, password hashing, and all that. Outline the file structure first. You see the difference? One's a task, the other is a strategy. And this is exactly why that planning phase is so non-negotiable. Just jumping straight to code generation, that is the #1 reason these projects fail. You end up with these fragmented, half-baked things that just don't work. By making the AI plan first, you make sure the final product is solid, coherent, and actually well-built. So how do you actually do this? Well, think of it like building a house. You'd want a blueprint, right? You'd create a central document, like a Claude.md file, that acts as the project's memory. All the rules live there. You'd use a special architect mode to review the AI's plan before any construction starts. You keep the AI's work separate in its own little sandbox to protect your main project. And you actually encourage the AI to ask you clarifying questions. It's all about putting up guardrails to ensure you get high-quality work. All right, we've got a solid product built. Now it's time to tell the world about it. And this is where Claude switches hats. It goes from being a developer to being your marketing strategist, using real data to help you scale your growth. Now, this right here is a perfect example of a smart prompt. We're not just saying, hey, write me a marketing email. We're giving it real performance data and asking for a strategic diagnosis. We're basically asking why the campaign is underperforming and how we can fix the whole system, not just one little message.
And that's exactly why this approach is so incredibly powerful. Claude can recommend big structural changes, like adding a whole new step to your onboarding, or just changing the timing. It can even suggest creating new audience segments based on data, like people who might be at risk of churning. It helps you build one cohesive story across all your channels, making the entire customer journey stronger.
And the results really do speak for themselves. According to data from Customer.io, a huge number of marketers, we're talking 72%, are already using AI. And for those who are, it's not just a small boost. They're reporting saving 20% or more of their time. That's a whole day back every week to focus on higher-level strategy instead of just busy work.
So when you're picking your AI copilot for these kinds of complex marketing tasks, it's really helpful to know where Claude's strengths lie. While chatgpt is amazing for quick brainstorming and general conversation, Claude's real superpower is in high-context reasoning. It was really built for that long-form planning, for synthesizing research, and for creating content that's brand-safe, all with a big focus on data privacy.
Okay, we've built the product, we've marketed it, but now we're heading into what is probably the trickiest part of this whole journey, the legal and ethical minefield of AI and copyright. And trust me, this is an area that is changing at lightning speed.
So let's just cut right to the chase with a central question that's causing so much debate and, frankly, a lot of confusion. If you use an AI to create an image or a piece of text from just a simple prompt, who actually owns it? And the answer, at least according to the US Copyright Office, is pretty shocking and simple. No one. Right now, US law says that a work has to have human authorship to get copyright protection. So if the key creative elements were made by a machine, that work basically falls into the public domain. And this isn't just theory, right? This legal landscape is being shaped by major events happening incredibly fast. Just a little while ago, the copyright for AI-generated images in a graphic novel was canceled. Then you have Tennessee passing a law to protect artists' voices from AI deepfakes. And when you look ahead, you see huge court cases over training data, massive licensing deals like Disney working with OpenAI, and platforms like Bandcamp just banning AI-generated music altogether. The ground is literally shifting under our feet. So, how in the world do you operate in this environment? Well, the key is to protect the human parts of your work. You have to maintain a human-in-the-loop workflow. The more you modify, arrange, and creatively direct the AI's output, the stronger your copyright claim is on those human contributions. And this is so important. Disclose that you're using AI. It builds trust with your audience, and it helps make sure you're staying on the right side of new laws. Which brings us right back to where we started. Claude AI is an unbelievably powerful copilot. It can help you navigate, speed things up, and see opportunities you might have missed. But at the end of the day, you are the captain. Your strategy, your creativity, your ethical choices, and your legal responsibility. That's what's going to determine whether this whole journey is a success. So the real question is, are you ready to take the helm?